Good morning and welcome in to the UK. So I think I'm the first of the UK demonstrators to come and join you today for this stamp camp. So welcome here from a very humid and quite stormy UK. So I do apologise. We just have had a quite heavy rain shower. It has stopped. I'm hoping it's going to stay stopped because I'm coming to you from my conservatory and it is a bit noisy if it does rain. There's occasional rumble of thunder in the background. So it's all going on here weather-wise, but hopefully we shall stay dry in here and we won't get too much disruption from rain and thunder and lightning and things. But yes, so my name, if you've not come across me before, is Helen Jennings. As I say, I'm here in the UK. I'm in the county of Northamptonshire, so quite central in the UK, just here. If you are looking for me on the interweb, then this is where you will find me. My business name is Love-a-Duckie, and you'll find me at loveaduckie.co.uk. And anywhere that you're looking for me in terms of social media and things, just look out for Love-a-Duckie, and hopefully that is where you will find me. So do pop on and say hello. Hello, Lorraine. Lovely to have you join us. Bit of a early morning owl, I think. Yeah, so really lovely to have you join us wherever you are in the world and whatever time it is, and whether you are indeed joining live or whether you are joining us on catch up. So do come on and say hello. Leave a bit of a comment. Let us know what you're thinking, how you're doing, and what's going on in your day. Be lovely to hear from you. Right, I think we should bring in my downward facing camera, and with that little rumble of thunder in the background, let's have a little look at some of the things we're going to be playing with. Before we start playing with the card I'm going to share with you today, let me just share some projects that I have already made with the daisies. So this is the card that you have got in your make and take pack. Now I have done this by embossing my daisy and using the white craft ink to paint on the inside. If you don't have that white craft ink but you do have a white watercolor pencil, that would be a good alternative. So that is the card that you are going to be hopefully creating from your make and take pack. I have two, the one I created originally and the one I did for my video. So I have a pair of those, and here's a couple more cards that I made on a relatively recent live, and you can find this on both on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, and there's potentially a blog post with it as well. I can't remember now, excuse me, whether I got that far. That's my trimmer just falling on the floor. So this one was made using DSP in sort of that moody mauve. So here in the UK it is mauve, and wherever you are in the world I think we pronounce it differently, but for us here in the UK it is moody mauve. So some moody mauve and some wild wheat on that really lovely DSP, and this is just a fussy cut daisy on there with this oops a daisy, so sorry sentiment. I do love that sentiment. And this one is using one of those gorgeous backgroundy papers, almost like a postcard, isn't it? And just a sentiment stamped on there, and some of the flowers stamped and die cut to be added to the front of that, and some of this lovely twine. It is wonderful. If you're worried that it's a bit thick on a few of my projects, this one is in full thickness. This one has got some of it sort of pulled out to just make a thinner twine, and this is a double bow on here, and I've just pulled those threads out of that big bit of twine to make the smaller threads, and just made a double bow with that one. So yeah, really enjoying that twine as well, but you haven't got to use it as it comes. Don't be afraid to pull it apart and do things with it. Right, let me just retrieve my trimmer from the floor, along with my stamping scrub. I'd obviously balance them a little too precariously on the side. And let's get going on creating our card. I'm going to pop that to one side. Let's show you the cards that we're going to be making. So this is called, right, I'm just looking because I think with the, yes, with the trimmer went all my instructions. Let's retrieve those from the floor as well. They will be extremely useful. So this is called an inside shadow box card. And as you can see from the front, you've just got some DSP on there, and this sort of banner with a sentiment and some popped up stamped and die cut flowers. And then when you open it up, ooh, it turns in to this box card. And you've got the sentiment and some flowers on the inside and some more daisies adorning the outside, but it just folds flat, so it will fit perfectly into one of our standard envelopes. And there's an envelope I've stamped some flowers on. It will just pop into one of our standard envelopes when you've finished. We do love a fancy fold that will go into an ordinary envelope, and it is quite satisfying. Oh, that's a big rumble of thunder. It's quite satisfying when that sort of pop up as you open your card. So let me show you how to create one of those if you've never made one before, or if it's been a while. Sometimes we just need to be reminded of the things that we've created. Thank you, Lorraine. Hopefully you'll have fun with it. Right, so you're going to take a sheet of your cardstock. I have popped the measurements on the introduction to the video so that you will have all of the measurements there. So whatever size cardstock you are playing with, you're just going to start with a complete sheet and you're going to cut it in half. So if you are using letter size cardstock, you're going to cut it at 5.5. If you are using A4, the actual official center point on a piece of A4 card is 14.85. So what I tend to do when I'm cutting my A4 card in half, I don't know whether you're going to pick this up, but I take it to 14.9 and then I just drop it back a smidge. So it's somewhere between 14.8 and 14.9. You could just cut two pieces that are 14.8. You know, entirely up to you, but just by dropping it back that smudge, that's pretty well spot on halfway. So that's what I tend to do. 14.9, drop it back a little smidge to get to half pieces of cardstock. Now we're going to use both of these half pieces. So let's take one to start with. So let's take our first piece. And this is going to be sort of your main front piece and the building blocks for your inside piece. So all we're going to do with this is we're going to score it in half like we normally would if we were making a standard card base. So for me that's 10.5 centimeters, otherwise it would be 4.25 inches. So we've just scored that in half. And then I'm just going to trim a little bit off of this end. So I'm going to take off 1.5 centimeters. If you're using Imperial cardstock, you want to take off 1/2 inch. So we're just going to take that little bit off there and we'll just pop that to one side. Fold our card base. So what you've got is a card base with a smaller back than you've got front. So it's 1.5 centimeters smaller or 1/2 inch smaller on the back than it is on the front. So that's our first piece. That's our front of our card, as I say, in the building blocks for inside. We're now going to take our other piece of cardstock, and this piece we do want to do some scoring on. So I'm going to put it with the long side at the top, and I'm going to score it at 1.5 centimeters, 10.5 centimeters, and 12 centimeters. If you are using Imperial, you're going to want to do it at 1/2 inch, 4.25 inches, and 4.75 inches. As I say, all of those measurements are at the top of the video for you. And we will, I'll just fold those around. I'll find my foam folder in a minute. I think I can pop this away for a second. Hang it on my hook behind me. Let me just rummage through my tin of tools, and let's just burnish these core lines. Now, what will happen is that this is going to come in here. We're going to add some adhesive to here and add that in there. That will then stick to that bit like that and raise up. This bit will then fold round the back like this to form your card. Now, what it might be useful to do is I will grab my trimmer. So we have got our little 1.5 inch piece just here. Then we've got our piece that takes us up to our 10.5 inch fold. Then we've got our 12 inch fold, and then we've got this that is going to be our back panel. So on our back panel, I'm just going to cut off a little smidgen. There is no rhyme nor reason about what size that is. It's just taking a little bit off so that it's not going to be overlapping the back of the card. It's just going to sit nicely on the back of the card, and you're not going to have any overhang, any unsightly overhang when you stick it down. So as I'm sitting with this in front of me, I've got my tab just here, my 1.5 centimetre tab, 1/2 inch tab. Then I've got this panel. This panel is going to be the piece that is going to be looking at us when we open our card. So this is the piece that we're going to need to cut our aperture out of. This is our side piece, and this is our back piece. So out of this piece just here, the piece where we want to make an aperture, I'm going to take my Nested Essentials dies. So these were new in the annual catalogue, a new set of label dies for us. I'm just checking, did I use the biggest for that? No, I think it was the next one down. Yes, it was. Yeah, so second label down. So not the biggest, the next one down. And to take that, and I'm going to cut an aperture into this front panel just here. And let's just line that up, make that central. Let me run that through my cutting box machine. Let's pop that off of there, pop that out of there. Just return my die to the magnetic sheet so I don't lose it. So now we have an aperture. Hang on to this bit. We're going to want that bit in a minute. So now this is ready to come in here and form our aperture inside there. Now we want some basic white. We just grab a sheet, and we need to cut a piece that is 14.4 or 5 1/4. Oh, nice flash of lightning there. I feel we're going to get a big heavy grumble in a minute, and here comes the rain. So do apologise. There goes the rumble of thunder. I hope you like a storm, because here it comes. And I just hope you can still hear me. So we have cut that at 8.5 centimetres by 14.4. This is going to be our piece that's going to come in and sit in here behind our aperture. And then I'm going to die cut from this piece of basic white, or any piece of basic white, I'm just going to die cut another of these label shapes. Oh dear. As I said, we are in the middle of a storm, so I'm just hoping that you can all still hear me. I'm glad you're here now. So I've just cut another of those labels from basic white. And the rain is really hammering down now. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay that piece of basic white on the back of my aperture like this and turn it over, and then grab myself a pencil and I'm just going to mark with my pencil in that centre piece. That didn't look ever so central. That's okay, we can work with that in a minute. Oh my goodness me, the heavens are opening. Right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to stamp our piece in the back there. So let's start with some Pebbled Path ink and our sentiment that says, wishing you the brightest birthday. And that does just fit beautifully across this centerpiece. Like that. Then I'm going to take some of the cluster, the small cluster of flowers. And I'm going to have one little cluster at the top here. And one little cluster at the bottom. Now for the center of those flowers, I have got a Wild Wheat stamping white markers. Who is in love with the new stamping white markers? I know I am. The brush end was always fabulous, but this new point, this new sort of nib point is just fabulous. So fabulous for writing, but also fabulous for just adding colour to little areas like centres of little tiny flowers. So we're just going to add some Wild Wheat centres to those flowers. And then I'm going to take the little leaf stamp, so the little individual leaf stamp, and some garden green ink. Now I'm actually going to stamp these off before stamping them on my background. Oh, that missed. Let's just add that in. Some green just here, and we'll have this one coming down just there. So there we go. The rain abates slightly. Just going to bring in an eraser and just get rid of my pencil mark. And we have our flowers for the background. So let us start to move these out of the way so we don't lean on them. Let's start to put together our card. So we've got our card base here with the larger piece this side and the shorter piece on the right. So the larger piece on the left, the shorter piece on the right. You can use what adhesive you like on here. I think I'm going to take some tear and tape. Flash of lightning. Does that mean we're going to get another crack of thunder? I do love a storm. It's no fun if I can't watch it. I'm just going to put a double layer of tear and tape across there. Let's take off that backing. Ooh. Right, so with your large piece on the left, shorter piece on the right, your adhesive facing upwards, just rest that edge with the edge of this piece of cardstock up against the fold line of your card. Line it up top and bottom, and then fold that over and give that a good press. And when we open this up, that is now going to be stuck to the inside of your card. Oh, apologies, that's gone a bit blurry. That's now going to be stuck to the inside of this piece, and as you open that card, that's going to pop up. And now we need to, before we stick this round, we need to add our panel in there. Let's find some multi-purpose adhesive or some stamping seal or whatever you like, whatever is your preferred adhesive. And we will pop that on the inside here. Now this piece is going to come round and we're going to stick this panel here onto the back of our card. So let me open that right up and let's put some adhesive on here. So you could again use tear and tape. I've just used some Tombow, some multi-purpose adhesive there, and I'm just going to bring that round. I want this to be nice and square on this fold line, and then round the back. And you can see where I've just trimmed that little piece off on the back there. If I hadn't trimmed it off, it would have been taking it quite near up to that edge. It may not have overlapped, but better to trim it off early rather than having to be messing around with scissors trimming it off later. So there we have our basic pop-up inside shadow box card. So now we just want to add a bit more decoration to it. So I have gone ahead and I have here some stamped and cut little individual leaves, and I also have a couple of sets of stamped and die cut little yellow flowers. So that they were in Lemon Lolly, that they were all stamped. And then I've got some white daisies. Now my white daisies started life. There's a lot of glare on that, but you probably can't see. There we are. You can see that a bit better now. I have just white embossed onto white card, and I've put and added a centre that is lemon lolly in colour. So that's how they have started. In order to make them pop a little bit more, I've actually taken a blending brush. I've got one of the small mini blending brushes, and not that one, this one. I've got some smoky slate ink, and just lightly gone over the edge, over the top of my daisy, and it just adds sort of a bit of a shadow effect and just helps that daisy to pop a little bit without necessarily taking away too much of the whiteness of it. It's just giving it a bit more definition. And then the other thing I've done is I've taken my crushed curry watercolor pencil, and I've just come and added a bit of shadow and definition to the center of these flowers. And one of the reasons I did that was because of the DSP that I'm using. Now, if you look at the DSP that I'm using here, you can see, one, we've got the white daisies, and two, there's this little bit of sort of brighter, darker definition in the center of those daisies. So I wanted to reflect that with the daisies that I'd created. So that is why I got my watercolor pencil and added a bit more yellow to the center of those. So now let's do some flower arranging. So we've got two big daisies here. So we'll have one at the top here, one at the bottom, and then small daisies. I'm going to add one small one here and a couple of small ones here, and then save one for the front. And then we'll add in some leaves. So I have stuck these all down flat. I haven't entered in dimensionals to the inside pieces just because it would make them too bulky. Now I'm going to add a bit of glue to that corner rather than adding it to the daisy and getting it in the wrong place. So I'm just going to add that there, and then stick that daisy to my spot of glue. And I think likewise I'm going to add a spot of glue there and bring my daisy in just there. So that way I know that the glue is going where I want the glue is where I want the glue to be and not where I don't want it to be. So let's add that there because you don't want it. Oh, out you come, little leaves. You don't want your glue causing your box to stick shut. Let's just add a little bit of adhesive and pop that leaf under there. A bit of adhesive on that one, and we'll pop that leaf coming out the top there. And let's do the same with this bottom piece. Let's add some adhesive around this corner. Press down on that daisy. And we'll have this one here. This one I'll have tucked underneath there. That's it, and let's add in a few more leaves in here. One coming out this side. And have one the top here. And we'll have one sliding in down the bottom there. I'm going to take a few little these lemon lolly dots. Let's add those in there. So there is the inside of our card. Let's fold that in and let's have a look at the front. I have I have trimmed a piece of this DSP. So this is measuring 14.4 by 10 or 5¼ by 4. And let's, I can just see the top of a daisy peeking out. Am I able just to squeeze that round a little? May need to give it a bit of a trim in a minute. It's just peeking out over the top. Okay, so there we have our DSP on the front. Now we're going to go back to our aperture piece, the spare piece from the aperture that we cut out of the middle of the inside panel. And I'm going to cut that point to point in half. Boom. And that is going to be our label on the front. So let me just bring in my embossing buddy because it is heat embossed. And we'll just add some of that to that. And then we're going to take the Your Friendship Means Everything stamp. Let me take that off that block, add that onto that block. Let's make sure we have it the right way up. And bring in our Versamark. And we'll bring that onto there. Grab some white embossing powder. Let me just turn my fan off a moment so that I don't waft embossing powder everywhere. Got a little bit of excess powder on there. Let's just get rid of that. Bring in my heat gun. We're having all sorts of noises today, aren't we? Thunder, rain, heat guns, fans. There we are. Your friendship means everything. Put the lid on there. We will stick that to the front of our card. And you've obviously got another one that you can use on something else. And then let's bring in, where are the remainder of our flowers? They're just here. I've got a daisy just there. Now, I think the daisy I'm going to pop up on a dimensional. Let me just pop a dimensional in the center of that. And we'll have that coming here. And then we'll add in our little yellow flowers, sort of hugging that sentiment. Now I did cut one of the flowers off for the other one, but I think I'm going to keep them intact this time. Let's just bring in our little leaves that we've got left. Let's have one coming there. Let's have this one coming down like that. I'm going to add a few more little dots to the front here. Let's have some little tiny ones. Ooh. You have flipped. And then last but not least, let's take some of this twine. Run it through my fingers, straighten it out a little bit. And let's make ourselves a bow from here. Pull it and tweak it until we're happy. And grab some glue dots. And let's add that to the front there. The only other thing I've got here is this, oh, and I've managed to put a blob on it. Let's sort that out. We've created a blob on my little white bit to go on the back. Typical. But that's okay. I'm sure that we can sort that out. So let's just add some more flowers to this. And then I'll take some garden green and we'll add a leaf. That'll sort that out, won't it? Or two. What blob? Let's just make sure my fingers aren't too sticky, aren't too blobby. Then we will put some adhesive to that. And let's just pop it on the back here, ready to write your greeting. On that back panel. And then you can add some stamping to your envelope just to finish it off as well. So there we go. An inside shadow box card. Folds beautifully flat to go in your envelope, but when you open it up, it pops out So obviously your aperture could be circles, it could be squares, it could be something that you cut out using your trimmer. Yeah, doesn't have to be this shape. It can be oval, any shape you like. But I hope that it is a card that you'll have a go at, both with your daisy suite and with other stamps, sweets, dies that you've got in your collection. So it's lovely to have been with you this morning amongst the rain and the thunder and the showers. And hopefully I'll see you all again a bit later if you're not in bed for the afternoon tea, which is going to be 3 o'clock our time. Now, if I'm right, I think that the next person is going to be Sarah, and she will be up in about an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. So do pop on and see Sarah a bit later and enjoy the rest of your day. Happy crafting and see you all very, very soon.